Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to our community forum, the Christmas edition. It seems remarkably early to be doing this, but if you look at the calendar, of course, Christmas is just over a month away, so we are incredibly close. I'm a bit out of practice, actually. I haven't done one of these since I think the spring of this year, although the team have did one midsummer. And actually, thankfully, I'm a bit rusty now on Zoom. From 5 or 6 Zoom calls a day, now I'm lucky or unlucky if I do 1 or 2 a week. I'm sure many of you are the same as we've gone into this sort of hybrid working model. And it is good to see people. But a great thing for us, of course, with these community forums is the ability to contact and connect with so many people. So we're delighted you've been able to join us this morning. And we've got a real treat for you today, I think. We've got members of the home team talking about various ideas around the theme of Christmas fundraising. So Louise Brooks, Marina Stedman and Misha Wallace will be doing that from the home team. And we're delighted also to have a guest speaker in the form of Charlotte Left, who I've just found out is one of my near neighbours and actually is within sight of me if I was to open the blinds of my window. So welcome, Charlotte. Charlotte, aka the Marmalade Lady. I was going to say Lady Marmalade, but that's a Lady Gaga song, isn't it? But Marmalade Lady. So Charlotte is going to talk today about the use of social media, and she's going to give us some excellent tips, I'm sure, and ideas for how to get the most out of Instagram. What we know is, of course, that social media does play a very large part in very active campaigns to raise money for charitable purposes. So we're delighted to have Charlotte with us this morning. Welcome, Charlotte. And thank you for the home team as well getting involved. So I actually, sadly, have to dash off to a meeting in the centre of Newbury, so I can't be here to listen to all the events this morning, but I'll hang around as long as I can. So I'll hand on now to Lou Brooks from Greenham Trust.
Just before you start, Lou, can I just quickly summarise, if anyone's new to using Zoom, which I'm sure you're not, if you want to ask a question, all your attendees are on mute, but you should see a Q&A button either at the top or the bottom of your screen. If you just click on that and type your question in, we have Louise James watching all the questions, and we'll either make sure to answer them as we go along or answer as many as we can at the end. Thank you.
Thanks, Chris. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us for our final community forum of 2021 today. So this morning, I'm going to go through a few fundraising ideas to help you encourage donations during the holiday period. So check out these fun and easy virtual ideas with lots of interesting tips and links from the Teenage Cancer Trust. There's some really innovative ideas with a great twist on traditional fundraising, such as clutter and donate, daily indulgence drop, movie night party, proving you really don't need to spend lots of money to grab people's attention and become a fundraising whiz. Thank you. Next slide. And here are some more great links to ideas from the third sector and charity digital, with hints and top tips to create your own festive campaigns, including giving a virtual Christmas gift or encouraging people to give to a charity rather than buying a present this year, highlighting how compassionate digital alternatives to traditional presents are becoming ever more popular. If you're looking for inspiration and guidance, the Good Exchange resources and webinar page has some brilliant examples of fundraisers and applicants raising money to support a particular project, which we'll talk about later in the forum today. So during lockdown, we had to think of more creative and inventive ways to continue fundraising during the pandemic. And I'd like to run through a great range of tried and tested ideas anybody can do on a small or large scale, in person, virtually or outdoors. So setting up challenges for family and friends to donate to a particular event you are planning is a great place to start. And one of our regular fundraising applicants, Jane, promoted climbing her own stairs 247 times to raise funds for a particular project at a castle school. And this was part of our double match day event recently. So this simple idea gained great social media engagement whilst hitting a fundraising target at the same time. Well done, Jane. And with the colder months upon us, it's the perfect time to try your favourite winter Olympic sport in your garden or local park, such as ice skating, curling, skiing, or why not take the plunge with an ice bath? Next screen. So if sport or exercise isn't your thing, don't worry. Why not spread some festive cheer with your community by carol singing door to door with a tinsel covered collection tin. You could cook a feast at home in return for a donation, or hold your very own Christmas afternoon tea with friends. Next slide. And Christmas is the perfect time to hold a group games night or sports quiz, either in person or virtually. And these ideas always prove very popular, lots of fun, and successful in engaging your donors to give to your cause. Next screen. So during lockdown, the Greenham Trust virtual meetings showed some real talent amongst the group. And even our own CEO, Chris, has been inspired to showcase his fantastic lockdown artwork. The 18th to 19th of December at the base for a great cause. We really hope to see as many of you there as possible. So with that in mind, why not get crafty and creative and share your own skills through an online webinar and auction off your creations for a donation. So as you can see, there's endless amounts of inspirational free resources available out there to use and impress this Christmas and beyond. So engage with your local community, businesses, schools, friends and family, and give our ideas a go. Happy Christmas and happy fundraising. Thanks, Marina.
So thanks very much, Lou. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about match funding and managing donations on the Good Exchange. So I think looking at the attendee list, almost everybody who's registered to attend this webinar is an applicant on the Good Exchange fundraising platform, which is owned and run by Greenham Trust for the benefit of charities in its local community. But there are some features on the Good Exchange that we just wanted to update you on to make sure that over the Christmas period, you're making the most of all the things that are available for you. So first of all, a lot of the charitable organisations in our area have offered match funding from Greenham Trust. So match funding is mostly offered via the Good Exchange, and the goal of the match funding is to incentivise donors and fundraisers to give money to charities like yourselves. So in a match funding scenario, every £1 that one of your donors or fundraisers gives is matched by £1 from a funder such as Greenham Trust. So if you look at my example here, Greenham Trust has given £5,000 of trust top up, and then every £1 that charity A raises for their fundraising project B will be matched by Greenham Trust. So what does that mean as an outcome? It means that if charity A raises £5,000 for their project through donations, fundraising, and potentially from grants from other funders or donations from businesses, they will raise a fantastic sum of £10,000. Now, one of the things that we notice quite often is that organisations that have match funding don't use it all, which is a great shame. So the important thing for you as applicants is to look for the match funding symbol. So obviously you'll receive notifications, but also on your fundraising project, on the very home browse project page on the Good Exchange, you will see all the projects that have got match funding. And actually here also all the projects that have registered for gift aid. So look out for that symbol. Also on your individual project page, so you can see here a summary of a project page, you can see the match funding offer, but also the great thing for fundraising over Christmas is you can see on a real-time basis how much match funding you've got left. So if you're doing social media over Christmas, for example, you can inform your supporters. So in this project, look, we've had £5,000 of match funding, but there's still £1,540 left. So every £1 you give up to 1,540 will be matched by Greenham Trust. The other important thing to remember is use it or lose it, because match funding like Trust Top Up has a 6-month lifetime. And we do get a lot of charities that come back to us saying, oh, my project's match funding's run out and I didn't realise. So keep an eye on it and make sure you use this fantastic benefit. So if you're offering match funding, if you've got a match funding grant, the donors can also see instantly that their donation has been matched. So you can see these screenshots. If I was donating £30 to young people and children first, it tells me as a donor instantly that that donation has become £60 because Greenham Trust has given another £30. And also, it also tells the donor if gift aid is available. So while gift aid isn't matched, it will add 25% to the value of your individual donation. The other thing to remember over Christmas, if you are going to do some fundraising activities and use some of those ideas that Lou mentioned, fundraising collections proceeds can be paid in to the Good Exchange as donations and matched. So if you're doing fundraising activities over the Christmas period, do remember to pay them in to the Good Exchange. So all you have to do is go to your fundraising project and click on the Donate Now button as if you were a donor and add the funds to your project page through credit card or backs. When you get to the section that says, would you like to leave a message, make sure to enter in the box where your fundraising donations come from, because it will make sure that the funder that's providing the match funding will check that that complies with the terms and conditions. Then you make your payment through backs or debit credit card, and once that payment has been approved, your donation will be matched. So do remember to do that if you do a fundraising appeal, and don't just say keep the money in your own organisation and miss out on the opportunity to get your match funding. Also, it's important to note now that your donors can opt in to be thanked by you for their donation. So if they tick this box when they give a donation, you will be able to download from your activity report in the Good Exchange dashboard a list of all the donors who've opted in. You'll be able to mail them a thank you, but do remember that you will still have to ask them if they'd like to be added to your mailing lists. Also, if supporters are working on mobile and have got WhatsApp, they can share their donation on social media and hopefully get even more people to donate. So tell them to look out for the WhatsApp symbol on their mobile phones when they're accessing your project to make a donation. So now I'm going to hand over to Misha, who's going to talk through an activity checklist. So over to you, Misha.
Thanks, Marina. Thank you. So once your project is live on the Good Exchange and you want to start fundraising, and you think, what are things I can do to promote this project and start to attract donations and engage with my supporters? So what we've done here for you is create a little diagram that you can follow around a little bit like a snake to check that you have done as much as you possibly can to promote your project and get those donations coming in. So on here at the start, you're starting to fundraise, your project's live on the Good Exchange. The next thing to check is, does it have gift aid? So do you have the gift aid option on your account and project on the Good Exchange? Now, if your organisation, a charitable organisation, can already claim gift aid, you can assign the Good Exchange as an agent to collect gift aid on your behalf for your Good Exchange donations. So to set that up, you just have to create a form with HMRC. You have to fill one out online. It's nice and easy. It's all online now anyway, and you send us a copy and we add the gift aid option onto your account and projects. And we do have a number of organisations missing out on that extra 25% on a donation, so do get that set up if you're already eligible to claim gift aid. The next thing to do is have a look at your project page and have a look at ways that you can enhance the appeal of the page visually. So if you go into your dashboard on the Good Exchange and you click the Edit Public Page button next to the name of your project, there's various bits you can do to make your page look a bit nicer, a bit more appealing and attract the eye of donors. So the first thing you can do is make sure there's an image on your project page that's related to what you're fundraising for, because that will be visible in the search results when people are having a look around on the Good Exchange for projects to support. And you can also add further images on the page and videos as well. So perhaps videos that are case studies about your beneficiaries, something about your team. All of this is very appealing for donors and supporters to have a look at. You can also add comments for donors on the page, as well as updates about your project. So yeah, a really good place to start for visual appeal on your project is the Edit Public Page button. The next thing to have a look at is your website. Have you added a link to your project page on your website? So quite often charities will have a donate section on their website where people will come and have a look to see what you're fundraising for, find out more about your organisation and how they can support. So do make sure that you add a link to your project page there. And if you do that and you have match funding, tell people. So put a little bit of script. This is what we're fundraising for in the Good Exchange. We have match funding from Greenham Trust. Your donation will be doubled. Tell people, and if Gifted is available too, let them know. So that's a match funding and Gifted is a really nice incentive for donors to support you. A donation being doubled is amazing. So do tell people all about it if you have some available. Now, if you want to add the project page link to your website and you think eventually my project's going to become fully funded or close, and then that will be a bit of a redundant link, what you can do instead is add a link to your organisation page on the Good Exchange, which everyone has as well. And that organisation page will list all of your current projects that you're fundraising for. So that's another option for you so that you don't have to change the link every time your project closes. Now, moving up again along the diagram, the next thing is fundraising events and activities that Lou talked about today at the beginning of the webinar. So you can run various activities to raise funds for your project. And if you do have fundraising collections to add from your events, do add them on as donations, as Marina mentioned earlier, because they will often be matched by match funding that you have in place on your project. So don't forget to add that on. You won't be able to add Gifted onto collections, but you can certainly get them onto your project to be matched where available. Moving up again, public fundraisers. So fundraisers are a fantastic way to gain support for your project. You've got members of the public running their own activity in support of your project. Now, if you have a supporter who wants to help you out with your project, they want to say, do a fun run or a raffle or something like that in support of you, you can get them started by clicking on Become a Fundraiser on your project page, and that will prompt them to set up a fundraiser profile, add a little target, a bit about what they're doing, and they can share that out with their friends and family and supporters. Any funds that they have coming through to their fundraiser profile will then go automatically through to your project as well. And if there's match funding available, those funds will be doubled. So again, let your fundraisers know that you have match funding available. They can tell their supporters, and it's all about spreading the word and getting as much funds coming through as possible. The next thing is supporter emails and newsletters. So you might be sending these out already to regular supporters. Again, you can let people know about your project when you send out those emails and newsletters. And again, if there's match funding and Gifted available. Now, Marina also mentioned earlier the activity report. That's available on your dashboard in the reports tab. And you can use that activity report to track all donations and all kinds of funding coming through to your project and whether those funds have been paid out to you. But there's also an extra tab on the report that will show you the contact details of all donors who've opted in to receiving contact from you, and you can use that to thank donors who've come through to support you. So activity report is a really good place to start to let people know how your project's doing, how much you've got left to raise, and thank people for their donations. And finally, social media. We do talk a lot about social media on various webinars that we run, just because it's such an amazing way of attracting donations to your project, because on social media, you're reaching the wide world of the online audience. You might be reaching people that you've never reached before, and the word can be spread around about your cause and your activities much more quickly than it can be on, for example, an email to regular supporters. So if you haven't set up social media pages already, do give it a go. Start with one, do a bit of practicing, and we've got lots of webinars available on our resources page on the Good Exchange that you can use to help you with that. Now, if you're posting on social media, post about your project. Tell people about what you're fundraising for, why it's really important to you and your organisation, and again, let people know if you have match funding and Gifted available. Amazing incentive. Shout about the fact your donations will be doubled, and that can really attract people to come in and support. What you can also do with social media is schedule posts to go out over Christmas and the New Year period. So what you're doing is you're maintaining a presence and a conversation with your supporters and followers, even when you're not there. And there's various tools you can use on the social media channels, and also tools to manage all of that, like Hootsuite. And we have got a lot of webinars on that as well on our resources page. So do take a look. Next slide, please, Marina. So talking about social media, what I've done here is add 3 really nice examples of social media posts by applicants like yourselves and also fundraisers. So on the first one here on the left, Lou mentioned earlier Jane from Castle School, who had run up and down the stairs 247 times to raise funds for a hydrotherapy pool for the school. And this is a really great activity. Jane took some amazing images, as you can see here. She also made a little video. She got her son to help her with that, which was fantastic. And you can see she's sharing out the link to the project page to support her. So a fantastic activity by Jane, nice and simple, and some really great posts there. The next one in the middle there is our very own Chris, who very bravely danced for 12 hours every day over 12 days to raise funds for coronavirus appeal by Greenham Trust, which was fantastic. And a video like that, Chris put out a lot of live videos where people can engage and chat with him and watch what he's doing and support. A really, really great way to raise funds. And he did really, really well, and lots of funds coming through for that appeal. So well done, Chris. A fantastic fundraiser post there. And then lastly, we've got a young people with dementia post here, and you can see that you don't have to do a really elaborate fundraising activity to raise funds. They simply asked for the coffee that you'd normally buy in a day, donate the funds or the amount of that coffee to our project instead. And of course, it would be doubled if there's match funding in place. So it shows you can do something very simple or elaborate to raise funds for your project. It's just about coming up with a few ideas and running with them and then shouting out about it. So I think across these posts, things that could be added are perhaps information about the match funding, but all in all, they've done very well there, all 3 posts, in spreading the word about the project and attracting donations. Thank you.
Thank you,
So I'm now going to
Lisa.
hand over to Charlotte, who's going to go through Instagram with you. Thank you, Charlotte.
Thank you so much, Misha. Today, I've been asked to talk about and update you on the various ways you can share content on Instagram. I know many of you are very familiar with Facebook, but it might be worth considering adding Instagram to your marketing mix, especially if you're trying to engage a younger audience and women in the area. Next slide, please. So I think before we jump into content, it's really important to have a quick look at your social media pages and just do a quick audit. And now is a great time of year to do that. Here are some of the main things that I recommend that you check and possibly change. First up, make sure the first line of your bio is really clear and lets people know exactly what your organization does. It could be a mission statement. That would be absolutely fine too. Next, have a think about why people would follow your account. Maybe you want to let people know the type of content you're going to be sharing, how you work in the local community, and how you want your audience to get involved with your organization. You may want to add a line about a campaign you're running, a Christmas campaign or a specific fundraising campaign, and add a hashtag specific to that campaign. That can go in your bio. A call to action, I think, is really important to finish off your bio. And examples could be click on our website and then just a down arrow, message us if you want to find out more. Really simple. You do have a word limit, so you've got to be quite concise in that bio. Now, other quick checks to make on your bio: check your URL links are working and they're going to the right place. Might sound obvious, but you'll be amazed how many times those URL links sometimes don't work. Check the contact buttons and make sure your logo image is really clear and you can see it. One little tip that I'd like to share with you is you can actually change the name of you've got a username, which is your handle, and then your name. That can actually be used as a search term. So for example, the handle, the base Greenham, you could actually change the username to the base or base Newbury Arts Venue, and that would be a searchable term. Next slide, please. So if we move on to the different types of content you can share on Instagram, I thought I'd just give you a quick overview because it can feel quite confusing, but hopefully this is just a really simple snapshot of the different content and the places you can share content on Instagram. So first of all, you've got video content. This includes lives and pre-edited films that you have created and uploaded. It used to be called IGTV. That has now all been merged and it's just called Instagram video. Instagram will share the first 60 seconds of your video as a preview to people as they're searching through their home feed, and you can share your video as you can upload a cover and it can sit on your home grid. I would add a cover to all your videos personally and just add some text to briefly explain what that video is about. And if it's on brand, it will sit nicely with the rest of your content. Canva is a really good tool for that, and I know Marina is going to talk about Canva a little later. Moving on, you've got single images. So this will be the most regular type of content that I'm sure you're sharing, and it can be a photo, it could be a graphic, it can be some promotional content. And I would recommend, if it's a photo, my tip is to use the editing tools in Instagram to really enhance that picture and just make it look really sharp and a really good eye-popping image. The better and higher quality the image, the more engagement you're likely to get. If it's a graphic or promotion, just make sure you optimize it for Instagram and not just reshare content from Facebook. If you have Canva Pro, you can just press a button, it will do it automatically for you. If you don't, it's worth spending the time to do it manually. So just make sure it looks good as a square on Instagram, and it will be more likely to be shared by your audience. You've got what we call carousel posts, which is up to 10 images or posts. So 10 images as a post, and it can be a mix of images and videos. So if you want to tell more of a story, if you're doing a case study, it's a great way to encourage people to swipe through. You've also got Instagram stories. They don't sit on your grid. They have their own section in Instagram, which you can find on your homepage. I'll show you a slide in a minute to see exactly where they sit. And they're really good at re-engaging your existing audience, keeping them up to date. You can share more behind the scenes. It's really popular content because it's seen as really authentic, sort of on the cuff. They're 15-second clips that disappear after 24 hours. So you can really experiment with content in your stories and see what types of content your audience responds to. I also like using stories to promote any posts on my home grid. You can share that into stories, and you can also share other people's content from their home grid into stories too and tag them. So it's a great way to build your community and give fellow organizations and charities a shout out. The last type of content you can share on Instagram is called Instagram Reels. They're relatively new. They are basically Instagram's version of TikTok, and you can share a preview on your grid, but they also have their own tab, which I'll show you in a bit as well. Next slide, if that's okay. What we'll do is we'll just have a quick look, just because we're time sensitive, at 3 new types of content or newer types of content, if that's okay. And we'll look at Instagram videos first, just because there were quite a few changes recently, as I mentioned. Last month, Instagram retired IGTV, so all video content is now found in one area, which is a little play tab in the center of your home feed. And you can upload videos up to 1 hour long. Personally, I would keep them under sort of 10 minutes, unless it's a live. Lives can be up to 4 hours. But again, I would keep that live to no more than sort of half an hour or an hour, depending on the live. The Instagram videos are really good to share your story. It could be a company update, and you can add a cover. Once you've recorded that video, you can add a cover with a title and a strong hook to get people, interested in that video. But also you can use the caption, as you can see here on the slide, to give more information from the video or the live and share extra tips. So the longer that people watch your video, it counts as a view. As soon as people watch the video, the longer the people are on there, that's seen as a really positive thing by the algorithm, and it really helps Instagram understand that the audience are really interested in that video and they're likely to share it to more people. So video content is really good. It's the future of Instagram. So if you can do one thing for me, I would say invest in just making short videos and getting yourself and your team in front of the camera, because it will help you reach more people. Next slide, if that's okay. You've also got, it does fall under Instagram video. You've also got lives, and you have to take a deep breath. That seems quite scary, but it's a really effective way to join forces with other organizations. If you want to, you can have up to 4 different people in a live. And when you're broadcasting live, everybody's audience will be notified that you have gone live. Best practice would be to tell people in advance, promote that you're going live, maybe a week ahead of time, share it in your stories, and then maybe a couple of hours before you go live, just send out a reminder. You can promote it on your other social media channels, on your newsletter, to let people know that you're going live. And lives could be used as a video, so it could be a company update if you're just going solo, or as I said, you can go live with up to 4 people. So it's a good way to do a Q&A or discuss a topic. And honestly, they're not so scary once you practice and you get used to them. So I would definitely recommend live to get out there, collaborate with people. You can now, a new feature on lives is you can actually schedule your live in advance in the app, and you can practice your lives now as well. So there are always new features coming up, which I think are quite exciting. Okay, next slide. I actually should say lives, you can also share the preview on your grid too, just like normal videos. The new tool on Instagram everyone is talking about is, of course, Instagram Reels. And I know they seem quite confusing. They're different to videos and stories in that they are up to a minute long, they're edited, and they're usually filmed to music or a voiceover, but you can talk to camera too and tell the story. You might have seen Gordon Ramsay doing dance moves. You don't have to dance with Reels, but they are about entertaining and sharing information in a really simple manner. So you can add text overlay that pops up and pops down. And they're just massively addictive, and that's why they're doing so well. It's a really great way to get in front of a new audience. If you can get to grips with Reels, I definitely think it's worth doing. The thing with Reels, a few tips with Reels. If you decide that you are keen on creating this kind of short form video content, I would be consistent in doing it. So don't just do one reel and then never come back to the app, the tool again. Maybe schedule, maybe think, right, when you're scheduling your content, plan to do 1 or 2 reels a week, and keep it very close to your niche as well. So make sure it is very relevant to your whole page. Some of the reel ideas that I've seen out there, you can do a voiceover, a lip sync, and make it relevant to your organization. You could do a time lapse from the office. They always work really well, and add music. You could get your team, your volunteers, to do a fun dance when they're out and about. Maybe show off the office pet. Animals always get lots of engagement on Instagram. You could do a staff intro. You could do a how-to, get involved. For example, 5 things, 5 toys we need for Christmas. If you're trying to collect toy donations, toy ideas for boys and girls, those sorts of things. Reels have their own editing section. You will get, after the session, a few extra slides to show you very basic how to create a reel. So I hope that that's going to be really helpful. Okay, next slide, please. I thought I'd talk about stories because it can be a bit confusing. Reels, stories, what's the difference? But as I mentioned, stories are found in a different section on Instagram. So when you're on your home feed, so looking at other people's content, you'll see the circles at the top. So they're the accounts that you're most engaged with. And when they post new stories, they will appear at the top of your home feed, and the algorithm determines in which order they'll appear. So they're 15-second clips that disappear after 24 hours. And you can share all sorts of content in your stories. You can share videos, you can share graphics, events, other people's content, and they're really good for building trust with the audience, telling them more what's going on behind the scenes, storytelling, helping them get to know your organization really well. But also you've got these engagement stickers in stories. So you can ask your audience lots of questions. You can put polls in there. You can have fun with your audience, see how well they know your organization by setting up some quizzes. There are question stickers. So you can get to know your audience and have that really intimate engagement with them. And that's why people love stories. They don't have to be as highly polished as your posts. I think it's really good to have a bit of a plan before you launch into stories. So maybe plan sort of beginning, middle, end, plan 3 or 4 posts. If you can do them every day, that will help your account, but it's up to you what is feasible in your business. So story ideas, just like reels really and videos, you can introduce your team, share a tip, share your posts, but then elaborate on that. So you can tell, if you're sharing an event, maybe you can talk about the event, maybe you can share behind the scenes setting up an event. If you're talking about volunteers, what do they do on a day-to-day basis? Just think extra bits and pieces of information, all that behind the scenes, where it can all go into stories. Next slide, please. So I thought I'd finish up by sharing some tips on how you can grow your audience both short-term and long-term using Instagram. And next slide. I think so many people are focused on quick hacks, like, what's the ideal posting frequency, or if I jump into an engagement group, will that help me grow quicker? Or if I find, what are the perfect hashtags? They're not actually really going to make a lot of difference. What really makes the difference is focusing on quality content that's authentic and valuable and talks to your target audience. Now, you might find that Instagram, your target audience, is slightly different to Facebook or Twitter. So you might want to adjust your content slightly, but really post with your audience in mind and think, is this useful? Would they share this content? Is this giving them extra value? Is this telling our story? Being consistent in posting is also really important for Instagram and how the algorithm shows your content to your audience and to new people. They want to know that it's valuable and you're getting engagement, but also that you're posting consistently. So it's better, in my opinion, to be realistic with your time and resource and say, do you know what, we can post twice a week. It's better to post twice a week through the year than post, 20 times a week before Christmas or before a fundraising campaign and then nothing for the rest of the year. So you want to really think of this as a long-term marketing tool. Collaborating with people, businesses, local influencers, think outside the square. Who is it that has a similar target audience to you? It might not be in the charity sector. It might be local, independent businesses. And Newbury is awash with some great local businesses and people that have a really similar target audience to the audience that you're probably trying to engage. So maybe you want to invite them to an event if it's a business owner, or maybe you want to do a live. You could do a Q&A as a post and tag them. So there are lots of things you can do to collaborate with locals in the area and help your brand get seen by a new audience. And the last thing is community. See all your social media, but particularly Instagram. It's not just a tool for putting out lots of information. You also want to spend time engaging with your audience. So make sure you're responding to comments and messages. Make sure that you're liking and commenting other people's posts, especially those local businesses, as I mentioned, that had a similar target audience to you, and build up your community. So hopefully that has been useful today. I know it's a real snapshot of Instagram, but I have got some extra slides that you will get after this, and of course you can ask any questions. But thank you, and it's on to Marina.
Thanks very much, Charlotte. So Charlotte's given us all lots of ideas of things we can do with Instagram, but I know that a lot of charitable organisations don't have dedicated resources for marketing, for social media, etc. So I wanted to cover some of the tools that you can use that help charitable organisations to manage activities like social media and email. So Charlotte mentioned a tool called Canva. I know we've talked about this before, but Canva is a free tool and charitable organisations can get the pro version that Charlotte mentioned absolutely free. So at Greenham Trust, we use Canva all the time. We use it to make the banners for the emails that you saw for your invitation to this webinar. We use it for making our social media posts. We use it to put pictures on our website and banners on our website. And the great thing about Canva is you don't have to be a graphic designer. I mean, most of us aren't graphic designers, but it's got so many templates for everything, for Facebook, for Instagram, for videos. It's got videos that are already made. It's got hundreds or thousands of photos. So I would recommend anyone who's not a graphic designer to sign up to Canva. And I've put the link here for the non-profits version. So if you're a non-profit organisation, and I've put the criteria there, then I would highly recommend signing up for Canva. So you've got all the benefits of that. Now, the other thing, we're talking about Christmas, and I know that most of us don't work over the Christmas period. So how are you going to schedule all these lovely posts and Instagram pictures and Facebook posts and Twitter posts over the Christmas period? So I wanted to run through some of the tools that you can get that are free that help you manage social media. So probably one of the most well-known ones is Hootsuite here. So Hootsuite is great because it allows you to manage Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn and Pinterest all from one dashboard. And what you can do is you can schedule posts on them, you can plan them, you can duplicate posts. And the other thing is you also have an inbox if you've got the paid version, and you can respond to anyone who messages you. The downside of Hootsuite is the free service is quite limited. So here you only get one user. You can only have 2 social accounts. So say that could be Twitter and Facebook, or Facebook and Instagram, for example. And you can only schedule 5 posts at once, which isn't much good over the Christmas period. You can have a paid service. It starts at £39 a month. but that's still only one user. And you do get some discount, I think, for charitable organisations, but it's not free. However, there are these two tools that do, well, practically everything I think that Hootsuite does. The downside is you have to use two tools. So Facebook Business Manager allows you to manage Facebook, Instagram, and see all your messages in one place. It's completely free. So you can create and schedule posts, stories, and also adverts. If you do Facebook advertising, you can view notifications, manage your inbox. You can also respond to messages, and you get really good reporting on insights and trends on your posts, what's working, what's not working, and you can have unlimited users access the account. And as I said, that's completely free. The downside is it doesn't manage Twitter, but as part of Twitter, which is, I think it's sort of hidden. I even had to look at it. There's a tool called TweetDeck. So if you go to this link, you can download the Twitter TweetDeck app, and it will allow you to manage multiple Twitter accounts, add up to 200 team members to be administrators or contributors. You can schedule tweets, you can retweet, like, track mentions, create lists, and manage direct messages. So if you haven't got a budget and you haven't got a lot of time, I would recommend looking at these two, Facebook Business Manager and TweetDeck. So I'm going to today look at Facebook Business Suite Business Manager, because I think it might be something that a lot of people probably don't use. So to use Facebook Business Suite, it used to be called Facebook Pages Manager. So if you've used Facebook Pages Manager, this is the next iteration. You need a Facebook page at first, and you can either set up Business Suite on the desktop or on your phone. Well, actually, I've got it on both. So sometimes I manage it on the desktop, and it's quite good if you're doing a complicated Facebook post with lots of photos or links and you want to have it all to hand and use a keyboard. Or you can also have the Facebook Business Suite app on your phone, and you just download the app from your iOS or Android store. The great thing as well is you can manage your Facebook page and your Instagram account from Business Suite. So when you've uploaded the tool, you then have an option to connect the two social media accounts together. And also there's lots of online training. So I've put the link there for all the online training if you want to have a look at that. So as you can see here, you've got a planner. So this is the Facebook Business Suite in the desktop. You can see this is Greenham Trust's Business Suite. You can see here, if I click on the planner, this is what comes up. So even if we use Hootsuite to schedule our Facebook posts, but you can see here that in the Facebook Business Suite, I can still see all the posts that Greenham Trust has scheduled. I can see the comments that we've had, the likes. I can see all the feedback. I can see by month, by week, and I can see, and you can see here we haven't got any drafts, but if we had them, they would be there. So it's really easy to create a post. You just click on the blue create button there. You can create a post, you can create a story, you can create an ad, and you can also choose if you want to share it to Facebook or Instagram, or Facebook and Instagram. So as Charlotte mentioned, you have to, one thing to be careful about Facebook and Instagram, you've got different word counts and different sorts of messaging. So if you are doing Facebook and Instagram together, be aware of that. But the great thing about Business Manager is it has two ways to post. So you can see here, I said I want to post to Facebook and Instagram together. And then I can type the text in here, and Business Manager will customize my text for each platform, and it will allow me to preview here. So you can see this arrow. If I click on that arrow, I could see what it would look like on the desktop, but also what it would look like on the mobile version. Here in the middle, I can click on Facebook or Instagram and type specific text for both types of posts. And as you can see, I can add photos, add videos. I can even turn photos into a video. I can tag people. If I've got a shop, I can tag my products. And then, as we mentioned earlier, I can choose to publish that now, or I can schedule the post. So if you're planning activity over Christmas, you could use this tool to schedule all of your Christmas posts over the Christmas period. And you can see here, I can view all my activity by month or by week in one simple view, just by clicking on the tabs at the top. The other thing that you can do, and it's something I think that Charlotte talked about, is you can view the stats directly from your planner. So if I go to the planner, and I've put a picture here, this is another Facebook page that I manage for my son's cycling team. But for each post, you can see the performance. I put this one on because we reached 12,000 people. So that's the number of people who saw that post once, which is a lot for us. You can see how many people liked it, how many people commented. But the great thing as well is you have a feature here to then use your post in an advert or even duplicate it. So the thing to remember about social media is it's a point in time. So if you have a great post that you posted last week or last month, why not use it again instead of trying to think of new things all the time? Because that will have gone way down in people's feeds. So they may not even have noticed it. So there's no harm in duplicating it or duplicating it and editing a bit. So that's definitely a tip that I use a lot. Now, I just wanted to finish off by showing you what it looks like on a mobile phone. So that was on the desktop. The mobile phone version is really great if you're out and about. So if you're at an event or something over Christmas, this is what the Business Suite logo looks like. You can see here, click on it, and I've instantly got the Create Post option there, and it looks exactly the same as creating a post on Facebook. If I click on this down arrow, I've got the same functionality to post in Facebook or Instagram or both of them. I can then click on, you see at the bottom here, I can see all my posts, I can see my inbox. If I click on the more there, you can see I've got access to my insights, my ads, my notifications. So on my insights, you can see that I can see here I can click on any period of time and see what my top performing posts are, and then I can reuse them if I want to. And you can see here, if I go back to my posts and swipe across to the left, I've got the same planning tool that I had on the desktop. So I wanted to show you that what Facebook has done a really great job with Business Manager of making the two tools practically the same, because sometimes it's quite difficult to switch between the desktop version and the mobile version. But here I found it quite straightforward because the tools were almost identical in the way they looked and felt and the way that they worked. So that's the end of the main session. As everyone's mentioned, we are going to send this slide deck out to everyone who's attended and put it on our website, and we are recording the session. So at the end, there are some links to useful information, so like how to find out about current grants that Greenham Trust has got, all the recordings from all the community forums we've run, lots of social media tips that Misha mentioned on YouTube, and a lot of tips about how to use the Good Exchange. There are contact details here for Charlotte if you want to get hold of her and get some more of her expert information on social media. And then, as we mentioned, there are some other tools, all the detailed slides that Charlotte talked about in her presentation. If you want to put a question in, click on the Q&A symbol at the top of the screen and type in your question.
I have a question. As I have Instagram and Facebook for personal use, when I put something on Instagram, it feeds into my Facebook feed as well. Would that carry through also for if I wanted to do something on Insta Live? Would that feed to Facebook as well? Do you know, Charlotte? Or is that separate?
Sadly, the lives are separate. So I know people, when they are filming a live, they'll set it up. So they'll have maybe Facebook filming from a desktop, and then the live, or two people signed into the account on their phones, and one filming for Instagram and one filming for Facebook, or doing events specifically for Instagram or Facebook. Sadly, they don't film across both platforms at the same time, which I think is a real failing, actually.
Yeah, I suppose it keeps your different audiences engaged. You still have to think about doing both.
Yeah.
Actually, one question I've got for the audience is, over the last 18 months or so during lockdowns, we've been running more chat-based and information-based community forums. But before lockdown, we used to run quite a lot of training forums about how to use Twitter or how to use Hootsuite, how to use Canva. how to use Instagram that were much more detailed. And we've touched on some of that today, but what we would love to hear from all our charity applicants and users and grant recipients is, would you be interested in us going back in 2022 to doing more of those things? So you can see all the recordings for those on the Good Exchange YouTube page, on the website. But we're really interested to know what you'd like to see in our community forward going forward. And there's a question that's come in.
Yes, so Jennifer Kettle asks, I think it's really to everyone, but Charlotte, as we have you on the call today, what is the best way to get more followers onto our social media accounts?
The challenge is that there isn't one best way. As I sort of alluded to in that final slide, it's a long-term process. And I think if you were going to focus your time and energy on anything, it's just creating content that you feel your audience will really enjoy receiving. It's either going to entertain them, it's going to inform them in some way, it's going to teach them something. I mean, people use social media usually in their downtime, and that's why it's important to make it really visually, really, it pops visually, or the video is, it's a video that you're going to want to watch in your time out, in your lunch break or something, and you go, yeah, I want to be involved in that. So it's around really good content. Then you can tweet your content with keywords and hashtags to give it the best opportunity to get out there. But in terms of growth tactics, I think joining up with other people and collaborating has definitely been the most effective way I've helped a lot of accounts grow. And it's just finding the right people or other businesses that have a similar target audience to you and joining forces and exposing your separate audiences to each other's business and organization, and that's a great way to grow. But it's a long term. There isn't sort of a shortcut to growth, I'm afraid, unless you invest in advertising.
You would say on top of that as well about your current followers, keeping them engaged. What I do notice sometimes, some of our charities are putting out really lovely posts about their projects and the work they do, etc., but not adding an image or a video or anything onto the post as well. So they can disappear a little bit in people's feeds on their phones and desktops. So I would always advise having some kind of a visual on there to attract the eye of people as well and keep them engaged. And of course, keep putting out as many posts as you can when you have the time, and scheduling those as much as possible just to maintain that presence.
Also, Charlotte mentioned advertising, actually, and one thing I was going to mention that I didn't was, if you are a charitable organisation, you can have access to $10,000 of Google money for Google advertising. So Google advertising is search-based. It's a bit different to Facebook advertising. So if somebody puts in, say, a term for charities for mental health, and you had a Google ad for it, it would come up, if it was a good advert, at the top with ad by it or down the side. And usually you have to spend a lot of money to get Google ads because it's based on an auction. But if you're a charitable organisation, you can have $10,000 a month. Now, we did do a webinar on Google and Google ads, because I would only recommend doing it if you've got the time, because it is quite a complicated technical thing to do. But if you are looking at advertising or are doing Google advertising, then, and you're a charitable organisation, then you shouldn't be paying. So just make sure you know that you can have access to that.
There's a couple of bits of feedback. So Paul Baird and Yvonne Redgrave have both suggested that actually a mixture of types of forum would be helpful, but certainly the guidance and tools and information about using things in more detail would be helpful in the future as well.
Yes, because even though we use these every day, we've all learned a lot from Charlotte's presentation, for example. So there's always stuff to do. And one of the interesting things is, when I was doing the Facebook Business Manager presentation, I did all my screenshots on the mobile phone last week, and yet this week Facebook had changed the app and the way it worked slightly, because they tweak it all the time. So that's the challenge with all these tools, is they're always enhancing them. So, but fortunately, as I said, they are quite intuitive. So even if they change them a bit, you can usually work out. So one thing I would say was, don't be afraid to have a go. All these posts can be deleted. If you put a post up and you don't like it or it doesn't work, you can delete it. And in Facebook, you can edit your posts. So in Twitter you can't, you have to delete them and do them again. But in Facebook and Instagram, I think you can edit your posts. If you make a mistake in it, just go back into the tool and edit it. So
that's good advice. I think we're at 11, aren't we,
yes,
Maria?
we are.
So,
I think, yes, thank you, everyone. Thank you very much to everyone who's attended. If we don't see you again, we wish you a good holiday season. Are we allowed to say Happy Christmas? Happy Christmas.
Yes, Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Yeah. Thank you very much to Charlotte, our guest speaker. Thanks very much, everyone.